Hello, everybody. It is November 29th, 2018, and this is the weekly Backdrop Dev meeting. We get together every single Thursday and talk about Backdrop and the current tasks that we're doing to improve the Backdrop website and the Backdrop product itself. So to get started, updates from the PMC. We passed a vote to add a new core committer. And that core committer has been asked and he has accepted. And so we're going to be announcing that as soon as we get approval to officially sanction that from him. And then we'll write that all up, and that's coming down the pipeline soon. That's very exciting. That'll bring our official number of core committers up to 4. In practice, maybe up to 3. So that's really exciting to get some additional momentum behind unblocking some of these issues. As we get down to the project update, you'll find me here or hear me say that we've got a lot of RTBC issues. So that will help with that particular problem. Let's see. Gregory, could you do a quick update on new Contrib projects?
Yeah, so we had 3 releases of new projects. That was one of them was Paul, which is actually the respective module for the core Paul module that was in D7 that we have removed. And then another 2, one is Matomo Analytics and the other one is Views Calc. Yeah.
So great. I don't know if this is official releases, but Matthew Connerton just did an initial port of Views Field Views yesterday.
I was just looking at the ones that have actual releases. So okay. if it gets a release, it will be mentioned next week.
Got it.
Tell Matthew to get on it and be like, hey, this halfway ported thing, or this entirely ported thing, but no release, that doesn't cut it. Actually, it does cut it. We're actually really appreciative of the work to do the porting.
Good.
Let's see. We normally go over website-related tasks. Although it looks like looking through the outline, we don't actually have any new updates to go over for backdropcms.org, the forum site, API website, or the translation site. All of those things. We did talk a little bit about how the demo, redoing the demo button on the homepage is getting redone, and we talked about that during the outreach meeting, but that was just an hour ago, so I'm not going to recap it again. Do you guys have anything to mention on any of the Backdrop website properties? No? Okay. Well, let's continue on over the website-related tasks then and just move right into the project report. So the next release, or bug fix release, is 1.11.3. I think that there's been some questions about when will this release come out. We really should make one kind of as soon as possible because we solved a major issue with the installer that it wasn't working for some users of MAMP. That the installer, you had to manually specify localhost as being the database connection string, and that's probably tripping a lot of people up. Getting that issue has already been fixed, and getting that out there into the public would be a good thing to help smooth over installation problems. It's funny that feature that we added in 1.11 was intended to help people with the installation, but it kind of backfired a little bit for some users. Let's see, other things for 1.11, kind of cleanup tasks. There's 2 issues around color modules still that the preview in Safari doesn't seem to work when customizing the colors of a theme. That's issue 3295. No pull request or anything there, but the issue at least seems like it's been confirmed. Let's see, we also have some predefined color schemes for bases that we would like to add in 3209. And this just adds a list of color schemes to bases so that it has predefined options. We had been saying that we were hoping for a design review or tabling that because we haven't had any luck there. So I think we are still hoping to run the color schemes through an accessibility checker just to make sure we don't add any default out-of-the-box options that are difficult for people to read. And so we would like to have that done. And so that pull request is currently in needs review, but could be pushed forward after it gets run through the checker. So let's see. Another regression from 1.11, we added a new status message type called info, and it has started to affect the available updates page. That's 3305. The status of that one is RTBC. We're pretty much good to go there. And fixing class escaping that was also modified in the 1.11.1 release. So we had a security update that started sanitizing the class names for blocks, and it is causing underscores to get replaced with hyphens. And so that's been a complaint that we need to correct. And the issue for that one is 3365. The solution there is still in discussion, although it looks like we're closing in on kind of some ideas that will solve that problem. Basically, if a person enters an underscore, well, we shouldn't convert it to a hyphen, especially if it's explicitly specified as this is a CSS class that you want to add. In places where we're converting stuff automatically from like content type name or something like that, like the conversion is expected, but if you're typing in a class, it should be unmodified to the point that is safe. Let's see. Thank you for adding this one, Gregory. 3375 are some ports from Drupal 7.61. So Drupal recently had a new minor version come out for Drupal 7. And when those happen, we tend to cross-port the functionality over into Backdrop. There's a whole slew of pull requests that have been filed to mirror those patches from Drupal 7 over into Backdrop, a mix of RTBC and needs review issues there. So 3375 is the issue for that list of cross-ports.
Nate, there are a couple of other issues that came up. Sorry, I didn't have the time to add them to the agenda. So there's one issue that I'm seeing consistently with CK Editor. When you try to add a link to an image, upload it to it, I get a fatal error. Others do get errors, but not it doesn't fatal for them. I'll add the link to the agenda later on. But for those watching, the ticket number is 3384. We would like some people to just test out the steps. There's steps to reproduce and report back whether they're getting a fatal or not. And there are quite a few other issues, small ones that came up that we have targeted for 1.11.3, but not sure if they're going to make it if we decide to release one sooner. Like there's 2690, an old issue which has to do with contextual links not showing up for views. And it's a thing that can be easily solved by some CSS. So the links are being rendered, but they're hidden underneath the admin bar, actually. And I'm trying to go through the list to see if there's other issues worth mentioning. Yeah, I think that's it.
What's the issue number on the CK Editor one?
It's 3384.
84. Okay. Picking that up. Okay. Okay, yeah, so we have a number of issues. Yeah, you can check out all of them, hopefully, that are kind of higher priority things that we want to get fixed in the very near term under the GitHub issue tracker for 1.11.3.
Sorry, Nate, I just found the other thing that we were talking before we started the session, the one with the that was causing issues with the paragraphs module and potentially could break other contrib modules. That's 3377. And it has to do with an error that gets thrown. path entity insert. That's RTBC as well.
Great. Okay. Great. Items for 1.12 is the next minor release that will be coming out January 15th, 2019, which is coming right up here with the holidays in there. We've got a month and a half to put together that release. I guess it might be time to start issuing the reminder that code freeze typically happens on the 1st of the month. So that will be that would be a Saturday, but the way that we normally structure these things is what we normally allow the code freeze to be at the tail end of the weekend. So it actually would be Sunday, December 2nd would be feature freeze for the 1.12 release. And we've got a boatload of things here that we've got that could potentially be added to 1.12. I think 1.12 right now is mostly the same as 1.11. There's only been one or two minor things that have been merged in thus far, but we've got some real serious things here in the pipeline. The first one is automatic updates that has been progressing. Core can update itself as of 1.11, but it's not visible in the user interface. And we've been working to make that visible in the user interface and then eventually make it update itself automatically. Looks like, Jeff, you added some items in here. Do you want to give us a summary?
Sure. Yeah, I was working on it, I think 2 weekends ago or something like that. And I felt like I was getting close, and then I had this problem with backdrop real path. And it's returning empty result. So I don't know if I have to load this file include file in order to use that function.
Let's see, backdrop real path, which is it's in file.inc.
Yeah, I believe so.
Sorry, my indexing on
file.inc. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. That sometimes means that a full bootstrap hasn't been done, and it's only a partial bootstrap, which I'm not quite sure why that would happen inside of the installer module. But okay, anything else that you would like to add there?
So how do I load that? Because it's not a it's not a module, so I can't do like module load.
Oh, I think in the case of a manual inclusion like that, you just use backdrop root, the constant backdrop root, and then you.
So just require it?
Yeah, just require it. Yeah, require once it.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that. Thank you.
I'm trying to find an example. Oh, well. Yeah, we can do that later.
No, I get it. Require once, backdrop root.
Yep.
And then path from there.
Okay, let's see. Also in the automatic updates category, keep mentioning this one even though we haven't seen any recent progress in there. We'd like to add package signing to make it so that things that are downloaded from backdropcms.org are basically validated as being signed from an official authority, which would be Backdrop CMS itself, backdropcms.org itself. And so we've got the issue in progress at issue 1992, but it's still just like a prototype level code at this point, not ready for extensive review. There is still a little bit of discussion there about how we want to sign the packages, but I think that we're kind of back where we started, that we'll probably continue with the prototype that we have rather than pursuing a certificate-based mechanism. Let's see. This ongoing, long ongoing issue is making it so that modules can have tags. That would make it so that when you search for modules, both through the search for the module installer or on backdropcms.org or on the modules page itself, that you would be able to use tags as well as the categories that modules are placed under. That issue number 37 still needs some work. No updates recently posted there. Got a great UI enhancement to put options element in core. Options element makes it so that when you specify key value pairs for select list, it gives you a much nicer user interface for entering that information. It currently needs review, but it's been in needs review state for a while. A lot of people are all in agreement that it's a really great enhancement. It has already been refactored to make it less like a contrib module and make it be an official part of core in the options module. I think that this one, like my gut feeling says that this is probably ready to be RTBC, but nobody has taken the plunge there to confirm that. So maybe one more set of eyes there, and then move that to RTBC. This really big issue, 2632, adds fieldable file types or file bundles. And that makes it so that we could have different types of files that all would have individual fields on them. The current request on this one is that it currently needs review. And from the reviews that we've had, it looks pretty good. There is some slight confusion around terminology right now. And the request that we have from the primary author on this one, Doc Wilmot, is that if there's stuff that we're uncertain about, like, can we write that down and then remove it and like make that be a follow-up? Because there's a massive amount of code in that pull request. And even though it's a direct port from 777 file entity module, it does make it hard to review that much code all at once. And it also, it would be better to get some of it in than to get none of it in. So if there's things that are confusing there that we can remove, like let's decide on what stuff could be removed so that we can move forward with the parts that remain. Next one up is an RTBC issue, adding a rendered term formatter. That's issue 3283. This just makes it so that when you reference a term, a taxonomy term, that there's the ability to display the entire taxonomy term display mode instead of just the label of the taxonomy term. That one is currently RTBC. Also in the world of taxonomy terms, 2934 is adding a language code to taxonomy terms to help make them translatable. This is kind of a baby step towards better translation functionality in core for taxonomy terms, just making it so that they have language codes like nodes do, so that you can have different versions of taxonomy terms that are in different languages. So 2934, that one is RTBC'd.
Yeah, there might be a follow-up issue with that. We decided to leave it for later. So when we need to figure out a way, this is the second time that is coming up, a similar situation. So we need to figure out a way to disable the checkbox that says follow content language on the actual field settings when the multilingual support is disabled for the actual vocabulary that's being used. The problem with that is that the vocabulary in that form is in the global settings field set, which is a totally different function that it gets called. So we cannot simply use states. And this is the second time that this comes up. It is also a problem with the, with the options element in core. Because when we select the cardinality of the field to be multiple, we cannot update the default values of the widget needs to change to a table so that we can set default values, but this cannot happen automatically. So you need to save the form once, and then it changes to that. I'll actually file a ticket to just, because these are two cases of a similar thing happening, to see if we can figure out a way to solve that. But it seems that JavaScript will need to be used.
Yeah, I wonder if we can use Ajax there rather than states, because I think states is what we've been using, but it's not powerful enough for that sort of thing. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So yes,
let's
also,
see.
yeah, the next issue is like we had a few iterations there to just improve the way that the columns are so the issue is to add a machine name column and show all the displays for the views in the views listing page, just to bring it in parity with how the same listings page is in D8. We currently had every information that we had, a lot of information that we had with each view crammed up in a single cell. It was the name, the machine name, the storage status, and we were only showing a single display. So the first display that was there, so if it was a page, it would say page, and it would not list any subsequent displays. So this was mostly RTBC, but then Jen made a comment yesterday, I think, when she suggested that we should move the information about storage status. Sorry, it's storage, whether it's overwritten or not. I think it's called. Anyway, I've implemented those changes, so we just need a final review, and it's just cosmetic things, moving things around different columns. So it's almost ready to go.
Great. Great. Okay, and that's issue 3395. Let's see. Do you want to keep on rolling, Gregory, and talk about the keeping core libraries up to date?
Yeah, sure. So the intention, there's 2 tickets related to that, and these have been marked as ongoing tickets, as we do not close them. We keep updating 2 of the most important libraries that ship with core, and one is CK Editor, and the issue for that is 3355, and the other one is for jQuery and jQuery UI, which is ticket 2493. I think the CK Editor one has been RTBC. For both of these issues, what we need is to eventually use the issue summary to have a comprehensive list of steps of things that we need to test each time that we update the library. And the more generic thing is to figure out a way to get these out early on, sort of like if there's a way to release those. That's a more generic discussion, actually, to have a way to release a beta or a release candidate at least 1 month before the release of a minor version, so that we can actually field test those and just verify that things have not been broken. So yeah, basically that.
Got it. Yeah, and at the very least, just get it merged in sooner rather than later. So at least it was there in the dev release.
The problem is that we merge these in the branch for the next minor and not the bug fix. And so we don't merge it in 1.x, as far as I know, do we?
Yeah. The next minor is in the 1.x branch, yes. But are you talking about, but the next bug fix release is on its own branch?
Yeah. So when we merge, we do merge into 1.x usually. Okay, yes. Then so maybe we should consider merging them sooner, so that we can remember that every pull request that we file also fires a sandbox, and people test things around that. So we will have a lot of chances to figure out if things got broken.
Yep. Okay. Great. Excellent. Thank you for putting that together. You and HerbDuel, it looks like, have been putting that together for updating to 4.11.0. Awesome.
Yeah, and with regards to that, this is step 1. So we are a few versions back with CK Editor, and there have been a few features that we might be able to take advantage of. But so this is step 1, getting the library updated, having it tested for the next cycle, and then until May, we'll have a chance to maybe incorporate the features from CK Editor. Like there's some interesting features. There's one that actually causes the bubble for the respective settings of whatever toolbar button you press to pop up near the thing that you're editing, which is a great user experience improvement. And I think there's also, sorry, excuse me, there's also the auto grow plugin that became part of it. So this is a plugin that causes, when you edit a node, if the main field, the body field is big enough, it sort of like stretches itself to have a bigger portion of it shown.
Yep, but those features aren't currently enabled, right? This is just the update.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you for putting that together. I'm actually a bit surprised looking over this. There wasn't any there weren't any other problems like that. Just updating, like CK Editor hasn't been the most reputable for maintaining compatibility correctly. So I'm pleased to see that we can update without it breaking anything.
Yeah, they do have a 5 version out, so we are not updating to that,
right?
Because that does break compatibility.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Anything else anybody would like to add for the next minor release of Backdrop for 1.12? Okay.
While you were guys talking about the first issues for 1.12, I retrospectively added a few issues for the 1.11. There's one at least that, sorry about that. There's at least one that's worth mentioning. The one with the clean URLs cannot be enabled. That's 2488, it has 2 pull requests that both need to be merged and both are RTBC. And one issue that has been troubling a lot of people for a long time, and it's just a single line, actually a single character thing fix. It's 3247, which has to do with the fact that when you remove the main content block from layouts, they tend to break, which is, so this is why I mentioned before that we have a good bunch of fixes, and it might be a good idea to get a release out.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. Okay.
Plus, I missed the other one. Yes, also sorry about that. And the fix with for the paragraphs module that might be affecting other contrib, which is 3377. Yep.
Yeah, we've got a boatload of things that are in the RTBC queue. That's me.
About time.
Okay, awesome. Well, great job, everybody. Actually, I really love to see a full RTBC queue, other than the fact that it means that I haven't, been doing the merging. But it's truly wonderful to see the collaboration between everybody coming together to cross-review each other's work, because it does make things so much easier when it comes down to the core committers actually doing the reviewing and the merging. So thank you, everybody, for putting those things together. Let's see. One more thing here on the agenda, Backdrop for Good. Jeff, do you want to give an update on your nonprofit project for using Backdrop?
Yep. Most of the work has been done by Laren and the folks at Hack for Western Mass, so thanks to them for collaborating on this. And Laren's got them in a state where the partner is able to start entering content. That's just basically getting all the data on the back end, but there's still a great number of issues if anybody wants to participate with real world backdroppers, making a real world website. Click on that link there and go to the issue queue and see if anything interests you. And thanks for everybody that's currently participating.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Do we have anything else anybody would like to bring up to discuss on the air?
I have a question about, so I'm doing another module port for the Yoast / real-time SEO module.
Oh, nice.
And I'm porting the Drupal 7 version at the moment, but it's using a very, very old version of the Yoast library. But the new versions, at some point, they changed to being a GPL3 library, licensed library. And I was wondering if the module itself is GPL2 because it has a license.txt on Drupal.org saying it's GPL version 2. Can it include a GPL version 3 library?
Yes. So we actually went over this really recently, that we had a PMC issue regarding what to do about Apache license projects or GPL3 license projects. Gregory, can you inform me if the backdrop contrib documentation has been updated yet to reflect?
I do not think so, but it's been quite a few weeks. I think Evan was the best person to. I think that he was most actively working on that because he's the most license savvy person. So sorry, I can't remember.
Kevin, which is Crayen. Something hard to pronounce. Anyway, yeah. So we want documentation in the backdrop ops contrib group to explicitly say that if your module has a good reason to be GPL3, namely to include another GPL3 library or an Apache-based library, then saying your module is GPL3 specifically is totally acceptable within the contrib group. So you should make sure that the license file you include with your module is GPL3 license text file rather than the GPL version 2.1. So that's totally okay. The documentation just hasn't been fully updated yet.
Am I allowed to like change the license of the module when I port it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. From 2 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because everything on Drupal.org is specified as GPL version 2 or higher, which means that you can update it to GPL 3 at any time. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I pasted a link in the chat that there is some documentation there about when you should use a GPL3 license.
Oh, we could. GPL.
Yeah. The 8.x version of the module does some weird things to get around that. So, yeah, I was just wondering if I could do anything like that.
Nope. And for us to just say GPL version 3 and kind of be good with that. Yeah, you're right. There is documentation in there. So, yeah, it does make it, the one caveat that we discussed is that any module that becomes GPL version 3 kind of by nature, because our plan is never to update backdrop core to be GPL version 3, will remain on 2. It means that anything that you put into a GPL version 3 module, it can never be a part of core, as long as we follow that policy. But I don't think that's going to be a problem with Yoast. Okay, great. Thanks for the question, Joseph.
Now that we talked about it, maybe we have a few minutes. A general question, this might be a no-no, but since I have all the guys that are more knowledgeable than me in that, see how in Drupal 8 they have the new cache tags thing? Is there any way that we can implement something similar in Backdrop, or is that Symfony related, or it comes as a plus with using Symfony and Composer and stuff like that?
There actually it's not related to Symfony at all. It's entirely a Drupal thing. It's part of the render API that they added a new property for pound cache, which actually I think actually does exist even within Drupal 7 and therefore within Backdrop. It just isn't used heavily. So that is something that could be added to Backdrop within a minor release. And it would be really awesome if we could do that, because it really does help with the cache efficiency quite a bit.
So I think I filed a, oh yes, so I filed a ticket, that's $33.99 as a D8 feature parity, which is called, so there seems to be a module in, a contrib module in D7 called views content cache. And it mentions in its description that Drupal 8 has this functionality essentially baked into core, so there isn't any need for this module if your site is running D8. So I had, I took a look at how things are implemented in the views in D8, and there seems to be another option for tag-based caching in the views thing. And it seems that this module is doing something similar, and it calls it content-based caching. So would that be the equivalent thing, or is that totally different? Or is it something similar?
I'm not familiar with that module, but it sounds like what it does is it clears the views cache when a piece of content that is contained within the view gets updated.
Yeah.
And so that's like a views specific implementation of cache tags, basically. Instead of it being applicable to other things like the page cache, it just only works on views.
Would we like something like that in core, at least as an intermediate thing, if getting the whole cache tags thing is a big undertaking?
I think the strongest use case for cache tags is the page cache, actually. Because almost all pages are served for anonymous users. And so being able to clear the page cache when a piece of content is updated is the most valuable feature in cache tags. And so I would probably say we shouldn't try to do the views-based one because its benefit is limited compared to cache tags that work at the page level.
So if we did manage to get something working for the cache in the page level that would include views generated content, it would automatically inherit the benefit. Is that what you're saying?
It would be trivial to add on top of the page level stuff. Yeah, okay. I think.
I'll see if there was any efforts to backport that to a D7 contrib module. Maybe someone has already started doing things, working on that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we can add iteratively, and we'll probably need to. I think really recently in Drupal 8.6, they actually removed the option for specifying the cache lifetime for the internal page cache, and now they just enforce that everything just is automatically cleared when content is updated. There's not even a choice to have a lifetime anymore. But I think that had been kind of the intention from the beginning, but it took 3 or 4 years from when they added cache tags to when they were comfortable actually not having it be an option to just have a lifetime anymore. So I think it'd probably take us a similar amount of time to get from, hey, we have cache tags to you can actually trust them.
Yeah, sure. It does make sense, actually. It does make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, let's wrap it up for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining the dev meeting. As always, thank you, everybody out there that watches these meetings after the fact. We really appreciate it. See you guys on the internet, and just keep on backdropping.